Talk technology to explore the incredible technology that is on the horizon and project ahead on what exciting possibilities there are for marketing and indeed, of course, for advertising. Please welcome PHT's Global Strategy and Planning Director, Mark Holden.
Thank you for that. I realise it's lunchtime, so thank you very much for coming in. It's not exactly what I expected from Cannes. I thought you'd be on yachts drinking champagne, but sitting in a dark room listening to technology from a media man. We are now at a stage where we have a computer called the IBM 1401. It carries out 4,000 complex computations every second. It sits in a museum. And the reason why is that the phone in your pocket or your bag has a computer in it that carries out 1 billion computations every second. And whereas with the IBM 1401, which was created about 50 years ago, was the size or the weight of about 3 elephants. The chip in your smartphone is the size of a fingernail. You could swallow it whole. In fact, I had 2 this morning. They were delicious. That's a joke, by the way. Where are we right now? We are in the information age. And this is my best attempt at drawing it out. And each of these different, if you look underneath, each of the different eras allow the next one to happen. In the information age, in the 70s and really through to the early 90s, we built our computers. And then after that, we built our networks. And then after that, we built our social networks. We're now in the middle of the social networking era, right in the center of it. Currently, roughly about 1 in 2 people in the developed world are connected up to a social network. That is 1.2 billion social networkers. Now, when you hear those stats, it's so easy just to go, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, next stat, please. But you really need to pause for a second and just think about that. 1.2 billion individuals are connected up through technology. Let's put it another way. There are 1.2 billion independent media owners. Unlike normal media owners, these ones are more powerful because they all connect to each other. So information flows between all of them effortlessly. They all comment largely with impunity. They can say pretty much what they want. And they're very, very influential. Nielsen confirmed that 78% of people trust what their friends say in social networks. Only 18% of them trust advertising. The next group of people coming into the social network will be via the mobile. 1 in 4 of us in the developed world now has a smartphone. But a larger number, 1 in 3, access the internet through the mobile phone. Mobile is going to be the place, the access point that the next generation, the next billion people that come online will access the internet from.
Mobile will have a profound impact on our industry. The first 25% of people who went online were through PCs. Of the next 75%, the vast majority will be through mobile, particularly in the developing and emerging markets, the fast growth markets. The computing power of the smartphones in the near future will be that of PCs today.
Why that's important, because you hear about that and you go, okay, mobile phones, yeah, smaller screen, perhaps access it more regularly. But the importance of it is that with mobile, social access via mobile increases the speed in which information and therefore influence moves. And you can see the effect of that on societies, you can see the effect of that with certain governments in certain parts of the world, and of course you can see the effect of that in business. That will lead to, and will continue to lead to, an increase in how much information moves and how quickly information moves. But we're only halfway done with this social networking era. The next half is where things are going to get really interesting. We start to really use the power of the social networks in more interesting ways. But we're going to come back to that at the end. To start with, we're going to talk about technology. We're going to start by trying to predict the technology that's likely to emerge in the next 5 years. Technology across many different areas. And to do that, we need to work out what drives technology. What drives technology is us. Not bald people with glasses that wear strange jackets, but us as individuals, us as humanity. If we decide not to buy something as a technology, it doesn't get created. So we're in the driving seat. The question is, what's driving us? Have you ever thought about that? What drives evolution? So it's not exactly a small question. The best way of thinking about it from my perspective is, what would stop us evolving? What would satisfy us? If you could sit in a situation where you could be everywhere in the world in one go, where you had the ability to be everywhere, with all information connected to every individual, if you were in that state, trying to imagine that state, you wouldn't necessarily need to evolve yourself any further. So perhaps that's what's driving us. Perhaps we're driving to that state of kind of abundance, an abundance to be able to be with everything, with everyone, everywhere. And perhaps any technology that works somehow unshackles us and allows us to move one step further to that state of abundance. It's quite predictive if you look retrospectively, if you look at any technology that's worked and assess it against that paradigm, it makes sense. Even things like SMS. Remember when SMS first came out and people were so surprised that 160 characters, you know, just typing text message could be so prolifically used. But of course, if you use this paradigm, it makes sense. That gave us, text messaging gave us near instantaneous communication on the move. It was a real quantum leap forward. So we've used that paradigm to look at technologies that will emerge from these different areas: infrastructure, interface, and internet. Let's look at infrastructure to start with. What's really important is the laying down of fibre to the home. That's a really important development that's going to happen over the next 5 years. South Korea and Japan are leading the way with 55% and 35% penetration, respectively. Outside of Asia, it's low. It's less than 5% of homes have fibre to the home. But by 2016, most markets will have close or just over 50% penetration, which will give them speeds of up to 100 megabits per second. The average speed at the moment is about 5. Added to that will be 4G, long-term evolution, or WiMAX. That will give us speeds, eventually give the speeds that's always been promised to us of up to 50 megabits per second. Now, these two things are really important because they're going to allow us to actually have more of our access come from the cloud. The cloud will be used for storage, as we all know, but also for computation, driven by the likes of Google with Docs and Chromebook and the Apple iCloud. The cloud will allow us to do all our computation will be done on the cloud, and our devices will simply be looking glasses onto the same content. Interface is where it starts to get more observable. OLEDs, organic light-emitting diodes, they're effectively screens that don't require a backlight, so they can be flexible and translucent. They will start to change the living room. Our TVs will gradually, over the next 5 years, start to be OLED screen TVs as the price comes down. We'll also start to have Ultra HD, which is up to almost 50 times the definition of current high-definition TV. And at that point there, it's actually, the screens themselves become almost to the point where they exceed the resolution of the human eye. So it actually enables us to start linking walls together, and actually walls would disappear and connect to other rooms. Still, by 2016, very few people will have those because the prices will be too high. What they will have will be connected TVs. TV screens represent the next biggest surge in connectable devices, according to IHS Screen Digest, and that's beyond smartphones and tablets. Close to half of all TVs in developed markets will have some form of internet connection by 2016, and that will open the door to new TV card media owners, right? So Google's YouTube could quite easily, at that point there, the conditions will be right for them to bid for major properties, such as the English Premier League. Once enough people have FTTH connection and enough people have connected TVs, that's when you'll start to see the environment change. More interesting than that, though, we'll start to see embedded content. So we're watching TV as usual, but when anything that appears in the TV, you'll be able to click on it or in some way interact with it to find out more information, to get a hidden layer. This hidden layer is already being used by YouTube in its basic form. It's called hotspotting. You can click on different things. That will definitely emerge in the TV sphere and allow us to put much more information around any of the products and services that we actually are watching. We'll also be able to buy. So not just find out more information, but buy there and then. It's already been termed T-commerce, this. And by 16, we think it'll be close to a $15 billion global industry. It's a new form of commerce, buying straight off of the TV experience. That won't really be the main driver of TV, though. The main driver will be socialization. 28% of people want to watch TV with their social networks already. A third of smartphone owners are using their phones whilst watching TV. So expect TVs to be connected up, have social overlays, and be using our secondary device, our tablets or our smartphones, to engage with the content on TV as we watch it. Early examples of this around the world are starting to pop up already. HBO in the US have launched Connect, which allows you to watch TV with your social networks, comment on the fly, but also comment with, they have the producers and the actors of some shows commenting live, so you can actually communicate with them whilst you're watching the program. Linear TV will still dominate, though. So a lot of people think it's going to be the death of linear TV. It will still dominate. But what we'll typically do, the ad breaks will cut, and once the ad break comes on, it will be served, internet-based ads will be served, or TV ads will be served. So we'll be able to create behavioural targeted TV ads for mainstream audiences, which will be served to people at a household level. Some TVs will have integrated into them the natural user interface. I don't know whether you're familiar with this. This is the technology that Connect, if you've seen the Microsoft Connect product that they use, so you can actually interface with your TV with gesture. What's very interesting about that isn't necessarily the gesture input, it's the fact that it has a face recognition. So we'll start to be able to serve TV ads based on who's actually watching, not just at a household level, and that's where it starts to become very interesting. Because at that level, and at that time, we can start to see a greater blur between the ad break and the content itself. So the content will start to be tailored based on the individual. So you'll be watching a documentary, and it will be augmented with things from your social network, from your social graph, but also information that it knows that you're more likely to be interested in. We'll also have branding and cached products inserted into pre-produced content. So you'll be watching a documentary or a program or film, and the ads in the background will actually be tailored based on you as an individual. Of course, you won't just be watching it through your main screens. The wireless screens will be a thing that we'll all use. 60% penetration for smartphones by 2016, and close to 48%, close to 50% penetration for tablets. So about 70% penetration of a smart device. And these smart devices are going to get even smarter. These are some of the technologies that we'll have in smart devices by 2016. I'm going to just go through a few of them. So we will have OLED screens, so organic light-emitting diodes. That means our devices will start to become flexible and transparent. We'll also start using graphene. Graphene has been touted as the miracle material of the 21st century. It's the strongest material ever invented, and it will allow us to have smartphones that are flexible, and you can just twist them and move them and have them almost like jewellery. We'll have pico projection, so tiny projectors in our devices that allow us to project images onto walls. And we'll also have what's called audio spotlighting, which allows us to broadcast audio over a corridor, so the person holding the phone can only hear the music or hear what they're listening to, and whoever's facing the phone. That's a technology that already exists. It's too expensive at the moment, but over the next 5 years it's predicted to come down. Voice recognition as well. At the moment, Google Voice is still relatively patchy. I don't know who's tried it here, but it's still patchy. But it's getting better. What's interesting is the computation is done in the cloud. So it's getting more intelligent as each day goes by. So within 5 years' time, it will be pretty accurate. It will start to deliver on expectations. We won't just be using our phones, speaking to our phones to send text messages. We'll be treating them almost like personal assistants. So a company called Siri was bought by Apple last year. A lot of you might not have even heard of this. And it's very similar to a company called, a device called Iconcia in Japan. Both of them allow you to interact with your devices as if they are personal assistants. So you can speak into them, please book me a restaurant for tomorrow night for 4 people, pizza restaurant please. It will understand what you've said, it will decode it, use parsing software to link it to third-party websites, straight into their booking systems, see if there's availability, book it, send a message back to you saying it's now confirmed. And that is a really early example of where it will go to over the next 5 years. Our devices will be very intelligent and will be able to be like personal assistants. Augmented reality is a very interesting technology that's emerged. It's still in a very basic form. What will change that is what's called markerless AR. That is where augmented reality sits in a very definite way on the environment around us. We put our phone in front of the world, and it's augmented, and it's actually sort of information is held in place. It's an example of what it could look like. That is really in its early stages. You'll see an example of it. We're using it for some posters to promote the event. But over the next 5 years, as it starts to increase in sophistication, that will be a really, really important area for marketing. And way beyond 2016, so 2020, I just wanted to make this point because I found it really interesting. The University of Washington have actually got nanoscale circuitry working within a contact lens that allows the wearer to see an image floating in front of them. At the moment, they've only got 1 pixel working with 2 colours. They're now working on 8 pixels. By 2020, they're predicting that we'll have augmented vision. So you imagine that augmented reality we saw a minute ago, but actually having it within your field of vision. And that's something that's very much